what do you want to see him do with the team, Mike? Do you think it's one of them where it almost just picks itself, barring one or two who maybe look like they might just have to miss out through injury? Trent being, the prime example.
Yeah, I think Trent might be the only change actually, to be honest. Unless there's a thing he does where he brings Nunes back in for the difference of the front three sort of thing, of finding a centre half and where Diaz normally drops off or goes over to the left a bit, just to keep the onslaught from minute one, essentially, of right, we have people running in behind you, we'll have people dropping off. I think that might be a thing where he then brings Diaz on later in the game. If he's looking to do something different there. I don't know what the Trent thing is. I think it was his thigh though, wasn't it? And I don't think it's as straightforward as coming straight back in. Maybe he misses a game or two, but I'm more than happy with the replacement of Conor Bradley. You know, he's put a level of performance in this season when he's been asked against teams like Real Madrid. That was absolutely fantastic. So absolutely relaxed about him coming in. I think the centre half pairing probably goes without much of a debate. Left back would be interesting. I think, Costas gets the 90 and hands over him, but then Robertson gets the nod for 60, 70 minutes of the weekend. So I think that may be a flip of a coin. Again, we've got Plymouth at the weekend, so it's not really a massive need to get rest into legs as much as it may be if it was a big league game. But yeah, it's basically, you imagine the same midfield, the strongest team we can put out, and enough off the bench. I'd say even Gomez is back now, isn't he? I think he probably gets maybe on the bench or definitely minutes at Sunday anyway, at least. But Jota's back on the bench at the weekend. It's good to see that we're getting these players back at a time where we're in these competitions and making ourselves have more games because we're winning more often than not. So yeah, I do imagine it will be the strong 11, and you got one of Jota or Nunes maybe, or Diaz even off the bench, depending on what the game state is. I think the first goal probably tells you a lot. I think Spurs' only way home in this game is getting the first goal and making that making it a 2-goal lead, not a 1. If they don't get the first, God help them. I wouldn't want to be them.
I think one of the things this manager's done, our manager I'm talking about here, is that he has looked after players when he's needed to. And don't get me wrong, it does help when you are in a position of strength. But you've seen Spurs panic and throw players into games like Romero, like Van der Ven, when they clearly weren't ready and they've had to come off, and that's cost them even more because they've then been away from the first team for an even longer period. But Slot has looked after players. Mike mentions Joe Gomez there. I think he might just keep him under wraps for a bit longer and think Plymouth might be the game where you reintroduce him. There's no big panic here. Same with Trent. Andy Robbo, I think you've seen maybe his best performance is when he's not having to do as much. I thought he was really good against Bournemouth. I'd probably give him even more credit because I thought both fullbacks started quite poorly against Bournemouth. I don't think Trent ever really recovers, if I'm honest.
No.
But I think after about 5 or 10 minutes, Andy Robbo found himself and was great from there on in and probably delivered his best performance. I do think it'll be him, and I think the midfield is likely to be the midfield that we've seen and that we'd probably all pick as the kind of main three. But what do you think about the midfield area?
I think the midfield picks itself. I think it's got to be those three. I think alongside Arna looking after the players, I think the other thing we're doing brilliantly at the moment is we're not talking about how injured our injured players are. We're not getting any information. Nobody knows what's going on. And you suddenly see a team sheet that's got both Jota and Jones on the bench out of nowhere. They've done a day's training, didn't expect any of them. And Jones comes on and he's excellent. And we've got such depth that Chiesa couldn't get on the bench. That we're in a really good position in this. And this is the whole thing. One of the reasons Richard Hughes brought on the slot to Liverpool was his record of keeping players injury-free as often as possible. And he's keeping players fresh. He's keeping them vital. But I do think, given the way the midfield operates at the moment, Szoboszlai picks himself because the work he's been doing since he came back from illness has been absolutely unreal. And he's so much about the dynamism that the team has when he's in it, and the movements, and obviously what we basically did at the weekend was basically play 4-2-4 a lot of the time, but it was a 4-2-2 4-2-2-2. So the two wingers were further forward, but we had Szoboszlai playing basically alongside Diaz as a pair of false nines, which I thought was really, really clever work. And McAllister keeps the game moving in a very clever way. And Gravenberch is just absolutely immaculate at the moment. So as good as Jones has been when he's come back in, those three pick themselves.
I don't think there's an argument on the three, Josh, at the minute. If you're picking Liverpool's best team, I think, Curtis has done well, better than well at times this season, but I just don't think he could force his way in if Liverpool were playing a cup final, for instance. I did think Szoboszlai struggled a little bit with the ball against Bournemouth. I take Ian's point. I thought he was unbelievable off the ball, as he always is, which virtually makes him undroppable at times because of what he gives you when he hasn't got possession of the football. But in Ryan Gravenberch, at the minute, I'm struggling to see a midfielder who is performing at that level consistently, game by game. He just looks unbelievable.